Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Arthritis Consumer Experts #CR Arthritis series. Today, I'm really happy and pleased to welcome as our guest a longtime collaborator with ACE, trusted advisor, and a good friend. That's Dr. Vandana Ahluwalia. Dr. Ahluwalia, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here, as always.
You're currently a practicing rheumatologist in Brampton, Ontario, and also affiliated with the Rheumatology Division of the William Osler Health Centre in Brampton, Ontario. Um, we're interested in a workshop that you're co-leading on a new innovation in arthritis care titled Artificial Intelligence Scribing. Are you ready for it? Is it ready for you? Very provocative title, I must say. It's interesting from our audience standpoint as well, Dr. Ahluwalia, that we're covering this because we've also spoken to Dr. Mamdani, who's delivering a keynote presentation at the annual scientific meeting on applied artificial intelligence in medicine. And he did speak about AI scribe technology that his team had developed. So we're really excited to talk to you about its application in rheumatology. So maybe to start, what is AI scribing and how does it work in a healthcare setting, especially during a doctor-patient consultation?
Mhm. So that's an excellent question, and I'm very excited about our upcoming workshop. Tommy Gershman and I are the co-chairs of a CRA-led committee on practice efficiencies for rheumatologists. So one of the things that we thought would be really, really exciting to get into is artificial intelligence scribing. And it's really an up-and-coming technology in the past year or two. I think physicians have started to interface with it, learn about it, use it, and that sort of thing. So normally in a clinical encounter with a patient, for example, the doctor is now using an electronic medical record. It's called an EMR, which we've been using for about 10 years now. So this AI scribing technology is actually the first new innovation since the EMR. So it's been a while and we were pretty excited about it. So normally in a clinical encounter, we would be conversing with the patient, typing some notes into the EMR and stuff, and not really making a lot of eye contact. We're kind of listening, but that communication has been affected by us sort of communicating with the computer instead of with the patient directly. In addition, the physical exam techniques and stuff, harder to do because we have to enter some of that data into the computer. So we're examining the patient, we're entering data in the computer, and so forth. So there's kind of a little bit of a disconnect with the patient. After a clinical encounter like that, physicians will probably spend some more time entering data, or sometimes they even dictate some notes and things like that. This innovation of AI scribing is completely different. So what happens is I consent the patient. I ask the patient if I can use this technology. I haven't had any patients who have said no so far. We've been using it for about a year in the office, on and off. So we will ask the patient to ensure that they consent explicitly to the use of this technology. We turn the technology on. It is usually outside of our electronic medical record at this time. It's an online platform. We turn it on and it starts to listen to what we're saying. Then we spend time communicating with the patient. We're making eye contact, we're listening to what they're saying, we're focusing on their issues and everything, we're examining them, and we're also discussing the investigations that we might have to do and any sort of follow-up arrangements or treatment plans. So those are all done with much more interactive, relaxed atmosphere. Then what happens is we will turn off the technology. The technology, based on a template that we have provided it with, starts to make a note. And it actually records in a transcription form, in a letter form, the conversation that we've had, the physical exam maneuvers. I will add some other data, laboratory data, imaging results, and things like that. and then look at the impression and plan. Now, I do have to edit the form because there may be some times where the data is not captured, might be a little inaccurate and stuff. So I'll edit the form, and then it becomes a note in the electronic medical record. So it's really changed the way we can practice more communication, better communication, more empathic, that sort of thing. I think it's going to be revolutionary.
It's interesting in the context of the leading work that you've done over the past few years on models of care in arthritis across Canada. And this seems to be an example of that and how things could be changing for patients. What what are the benefits that you can identify for people with arthritis in terms of improving that exchange and conversation between the specialist and the patient? What do you see as the potential benefits for patients?
So in rheumatology, a lot of what we do is not based on a lot of testing or procedures.
Yeah.
What we do is we are listening to the patient. We want to know their symptoms. We want to know their functional capacity. We want to know how they're interacting socially and so forth. We want to look at their joints and we want to examine them. So that time that we need to spend on our patients, a very clinical encounter uh, rather than, for example, an endoscopy or a cardiac cath or things like that. Other specialties are different. They get a lot of information from their procedures. We get the information from the patient. So in our specialty, I think this is particularly important to have that ability to have the maximum communication. Because up until now, with the EMR requiring a lot of data entry, making sure we capture all the information, it's been harder for us. But now I think it's going to change.
You mentioned EMRs and you talked about how patient consent is required. Uh, we know from experience that EMRs have raised privacy concerns for patients. How would you describe or characterize the security and confidentiality of AI scribing for a patient?
Mm. So the way the AI scribing works is that it does record the information in order to make a transcript. So it's a typed transcript that comes out of that. The recording is actually discarded once the transcript is made and the letter is generated. So we don't have any, we don't save any of the recordings. The other thing is that all of the data that is collected in Canada stays in Canada. So data is not going anywhere internationally, even if some of these AI platforms are international, some of them are outside of Canada. The data that is kept, the data is all kept in Canada. So those are important things. These platforms have a little bit of a regulatory requirement. They have to have patient privacy, PHIPAA approved. They have to be PPETA improved. That has to do with electronic data capture and so forth. So they do have those regulations. So I think it's pretty safe at this point in time. And that's going to be an ongoing thing with the regulatory evaluation
Right.
and the Ministry of Health. So I'm sure that they're going to be keeping on top of that.
Uh, Final question. You referred in your opening comments to a working group, I believe it's called Project Athena, that the CRA is conducting. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how it could support rheumatologists in using this new innovative technology?
So any new innovative technology requires some understanding, a little bit of work with the user interface and so forth. Funding requirements. I mean, how much is this going to cost in addition to the other costs that we have for an office
Right.
practice and so forth? It's going to be an add-on again. So in that situation, the task force that we have set up for looking at practice efficiencies to ensure that physicians have all the tools available to make their practice efficient. And with practice efficiency, we reduce wait times for patients. We can see more patients in a day because we're not spending an extra couple of hours doing paperwork at the end of the day. So all of those things are going to help in terms of our patient load and also making access to patients available. So in that situation, the Canadian Rheumatology Association decided that we should do a project on AI scribing and that we would benefit our members by understanding the technology, interacting with the technology. So we do have two specific AI platforms that we are working with. We are also creating tools within those platforms so that we can use the platform better because not all platforms are rheumatology ready. They tend to be ready for family practice, but not necessarily for all specialists. So we want to make it rheumatology ready as a benefit for our members. And we also want to make sure it's cost effective, enable to all of our members can be able to use this and to afford it to its maximum capabilities.
Fantastic. We're always keen followers in terms of the leadership that you provide, not just within the CRA, but for rheumatology across the country. And this is another example of you kind of pioneering some work that we're going to see uh, carried through and across the country and how things are going to be changing for patients. So, a great topic. Thank you so much for sharing some of those takeaways from your workshop presentation. And as this evolves, we look forward to talking more to you about it and its application and benefits for patients. Thanks so much for joining us today, Dr. Ahluwalia.
Thanks for the invitation.
And thanks to you, our audience, listening and watching. We look forward to you joining us for our next episode of hashtag CR Arthritis as we share more exciting science. Goodbye for now.